think about how screwed up we would be if we had survived a plane crash only to end up eating each other.
Oh, I do.
I think this show just keeps everyone kind of on the edge of their seats with like, everybody's really cool driving the kids to school and then someone gets murdered. So what has been the most WTF moment for you watching the show? And Christine, I'll start with you.
There's a moment this season when I read the script, I audibly gasped. But that episode is later on in the season, so I can't necessarily talk about it. But I was totally shocked by it and really impressed, frankly.
Do either one of you have anything before this season that we could mention?
I mean, the beheading the dog was the big one for me. They specifically told me that I don't behead the dog, and then come to find out I do. And so that was very shocking for me. I'm an animal lover, so, you know,
we know you didn't do it. Like, I just want to
I don't believe she did it either.
I know.
Like, I still think it was the cult people.
That would be fantastic.
Yes, I still
You think they're going to go back to that dog?
No, I don't think
that's not on me,
no,
guys.
they're never going to revisit it. But I just think it was open enough for interpretation that you could be like, it's not them. It was those purple people,
Okay, I'm down for that.
or somebody else, or other tie.
Yeah, going into that little tiny room and seeing the dog head, the bloody dog head on the mantle.
They made
it.
a dog head?
Yeah,
That was
That's a great
lot.
job for somebody.
That was a lot.
Oh, man.
You showing up was one for me. I was like,
Aw.
like I was like, I again, just total shock. You looked lovely. But it was shocking.
Yeah.
What, did you have one?
Well, let's see. I mean, I was a fan of the show. I watched the first season, was so amazed by my now colleagues and their brilliant performances. But something that was really shocking was the actual plane crash and just how those kids played. That was it was just so visceral and horrifying and brilliant. I just thought they were brilliant in that.
and if you talk to them about it, they really suffered
They went
through that.
Yeah. Those poor
They
kids.
probably, I know, they're like, y'all are all in suburbia. They're out in the
That's
wilderness.
one of the things about this show is like every single person on this show gives their absolute all. Nobody's phoning it
Half-assing
in. And
it.
that's pretty impressive because I don't think I've ever been on a
Is
project.
it though? Like,
No,
should
but I've
you just
never
do your job?
Yes, you should.
I swear
You
to God,
should,
I've never
but I've
either.
never
Not a
been.
single
But I've never been on a
person was
project
just
where
like,
there was
it.
one
No
asshole.
ego.
There wasn't one
Everybody's
asshole
ready.
who didn't know their lines. And I was like, what?
What am I doing?
That's true. I dig that, especially knowing how much you've all been a part of. Also because of this show, like
That's the expertise of older ladies.
Desperation.
they keep adding everybody that I love and things that I'm familiar with. Now I hadn't seen you in it as much before, but I mean, but then we have Hilary Swank. I'm like, are y'all just robbing all of the like 90s and 2000s it girls? And,
Right.
Like,
We're not in charge of anything.
I know. What was it like with her joining the cast, though? Did you give her a boot camp a little bit to be like, all right, this is what you need to know?
We can't tell you whether we worked with her or not.
I can't even tell you if I met her.
Wow.
But I will tell you, she's one of my favorite actresses.
From
and
afar, I was
very
in awe.
excited.
One of the greats.
$1 Million Baby is one of my favorite movies ever, and I was super
How could it
thrilled.
not be?
It's so good. She's so good in that movie.
I think Natalie knows what Coach Scott is. Does she deserve to be the leader?
Instead of doing what was right for us, she did what she wanted to do.
I feel like I should warn people before they watch the show about what is in store and the fact that y'all are gonna like frighten and scare us and like make us gasp. What has been your like favorite like shocking sudden WTF moments?
I think the end of this season for me was the very last episode was a big moment. I mean, same with last season too. The fire, but then also the Antler Queen scene was exciting for me. But I think this season's even bigger.
Yeah, the most shocking hasn't happened that you haven't seen it yet.
Nobody's seen it yet.
But I think the pilot does such a good job at introducing the craziness that is our show. And so I think that, you really can't ever have expectations with what these people are capable of doing.
Yeah, and it's such a weird show because people die and then come back as ghosts. So like what did you react when you found out that your counterpart was going to be killed in season 2? Like, sorry, Sophie. Sorry,
I was like,
pointed at you.
don't tell me that because I had no idea.
No, you're
like,
Sophie, sorry. I'm just staring at you because you're like giving me good face.
oh my gosh.
But when you found out your character was going to die.
It was really sad. I remember crying during the table read. We had a table read in person. Yeah.
Oh.
I love Juliet so much. It was sad, but also I think that Natalie was already in present day, had gone through so much and was dead inside in a lot of ways. And people were surprised that she even made it post-crash given her family situation. everything she endured. So I think it was kind of a miracle that she made it that far. So it was tragic to see her die in such a, random, crazy.
Hands of a psycho or something, you know?
Aren't you worried about what we're going to have to tell people if we get back?
Again, this show is crazy. I love for folks to watch it, but I want to warn them a little bit about it. If you had to pick over the past 3 seasons, what has been the most like WTF shocking moment that you saw in the script from the pilot until now, what would it be? And I'll start with you.
I already talked about the eating Jackie.
Yeah.
That's like low-hanging fruit. That's obvious. I actually think going all the way back to season 1, seeing Misty destroy like the transponder and the black box, that was just like a twist and an element that I did not see coming at all. And I'm so curious when that is going to like kind of make its way back and everybody kind of becomes aware of that, because really, if you think about it, we're kind of out there because of her. You know,
Yeah,
like we're
this is
stranded
true.
essentially because of her, and nobody really
Do
knows
we
it
ever?
yet.
Somebody did, but then she killed them.
Right. Oh, yes. Right. Yeah.
She likes them.
Yeah.
Like,
So like that secret is like
Yeah.
one of the few that's still buried.
like, yeah,
you know.
pretty deep down.
Yeah. I just remember reading that in the script, and it was so early on. And I was just like, oh, this is gonna get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The eating Jackie, it's not so much because we all knew it was coming, but it's the way that they directed it and the way they wrote the scene. I think that's what surprised me the most, is that we managed to pull off what everyone was expecting and like waiting for, and that we knew was going to be traumatic to watch, but we surpassed those expectations by making it some sort of like mystical like feast and playing into like 2 different times. Like we've never seen like such a complex and like intriguing way of shooting cannibalism, and I think that for me was to this day like the like encompasses what our show is.
That's so funny you say that, because just your character alone has had crazy ones. Waking up, baby's gone, best friend frozen to death after you have a fight. Like you've already had like a few. I'm just curious for you, like, is she gonna finally have like in season 3, I don't know, not the coast season, but less? Or is it another bad season for Shauna?
I wish I could say that things get better, but I think they don't. I think the thing is, it's not so much anymore about what's happening to her. I think it's now because she has nothing else to lose. I think all of her grief and all of her shame has shifted into anger. And so I think now she will commit actions that will never be able to be forgiven. So I think it's the worst of what she's committed so far by her own doing.
Also, I hear you have a few WTF moments this season that maybe folks aren't talking about yet, but
I think there might be.
yeah, I think there might be.
Yeah,
I mean,
a
one
handful.
that I have put as canon, even though we're exploring in season 3 whether it's true. You set that fire. Like,
I think
I
he
know you
didn't.
set that. Whatever. You think he's nice as a person, and so you don't think that his character can do it. But where do you think the coach is feeling about the Yellowjackets? Because I do feel like his temporal lobe was developed enough to know how crazy everything is, but he can't say anything because he doesn't want to die. So I don't know. How's his feelings towards these young women?
I think there's like a really interesting dichotomy that kind of exists within him, where like
Sorry,
outwardly,
that's the word dichotomy.
dichotomy.
Sorry, he
right.
said that earlier and I didn't know what the word
Oh
was.
yeah, it's
and
like
we
2
can
things
talk
that
about it
exist
later,
at the
but
same
yes,
time.
okay.
Yeah, it's like one over here
Dichotomy.
and one over here.
Gotcha.
But like internally, or I guess externally first, it's like, yes, he has seen the direction that things are heading with these girls, right? Like he's seen the craziness and he's seen glimpses of it, and he's like, oh, I know where this is going. This is going to get bad. And yet internally, I think there's still this deep-seated sense of responsibility for them. You know, he is a coach, he's a teacher, he's a mentor. This is what he's kind of dedicated his life to. He really does actually enjoy it, you know, despite not always expressing that. And so even as bad as things get, he's like, I want to do right by these girls. And he doesn't necessarily always get the chance to do that.
I mean, that's so much more altruistic. I was just like, he doesn't want to be the next dinner, but you put it in a nice way.
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
I'm like,
for like, don't eat me. You know, that'd be nice.
You become a problem.
Like,
You
be cool, God. You know, just be cool.
Before I get out of here, I'm just curious for all of you, do you have a favorite fan theory?
I feel like I've read a bunch that are like Ben either intentionally stays behind, or like he gets rescued first and then like doesn't tell them about the rest of the girl, you know, stuff like that, you know, where he like intentionally fucks with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are always fun.
I don't actually read the Reddit or any of that, but
Probably
I'm just
better
always
person.
better for my sanity. But I'm always very impressed at like all the tiny details that they pick up on. And then it makes me feel really bad as an actor because I'm like, wait, I didn't do my research well enough if I've never connected those dots. And so just to see their level of commitment is always just so amazing.
Yeah.
This place will follow us for the rest of our lives. Someone wants us dead.
I'm going to go ahead and start with this fact that, like, I think anyone watching this show needs to be warned about how crazy it can get.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite WTF moment? I feel like from the pilot through every episode, there's always at least several. Do you have a favorite?
I actually just almost threw up because some images went through my head.
What?
From the season. That just hit me so viscerally.
Every season, there's always like at least 3 things. I remember when season 2 came out, I told my mom, I was like, okay, you need to stop watching like now. And I told her to stop watching right before Shauna's birth episode. And I was like, tap out. I'll tell you what happens. It's okay.
Coach Scott. That cabin fire. What do you think the thoughts are as far as Coach Scott and the cabin fire?
Some people think he did it. Some people think it was an act of God. Or like the wilderness punishing us for eating Javi. I don't know.
Think?
As
Do you know what you think?
As a fan, I think that Ben did it.
Yeah.
But as me, I don't know. That's the only thing that really makes sense. I just want to believe that he didn't.
What about you, Liv?
I saw people saying like that I did it.
Oh.
Which had not crossed my mind at all. And that would be very upsetting. But who's to say? I don't know.
Is that the craziest theory that you've read that you were like, whoa, like it had you shook, or is there another one that had you more
We've
shook?
read some crazy ones that like adult Adam was either Shauna's baby or was Javi. Like that Javi grew up and became Adam.
Yeah, that was wild.
And then Shauna and Adam, and that made me uncomfortable.
Wow.
I don't like that.
They just make you uncomfortable, I think. Like,
Yeah.
Stay away from it. And is there a different one besides you thinking you did it?
I love it when somebody's right. Like I love reading a theory and somebody's actually right, and I know that person is going to be thrilled like a year from now. Like that
Nice.
really tickles me.
Did you have any of those for season 3?
Yeah. I saw a
Oh,
couple.
dig it. Okay, so one of the interesting things about your character is the whole hallucinations thing. Like, I think for an actor, it's probably just an interesting thing to play around with. Can you tease a little bit about what they have you doing?
The no-eyed man makes a comeback.
Wow.
He's on a comeback tour.
Wow, okay.
That's a great thing for me to say.
Okay, that's a good preview. I appreciate that. This is also in that sort of non-spoiler territory, but based off of the trailer, it looks like you were living the wilderness dream a bit. And can we say that? Like you were homesteading it up. I don't know. Can you tease a little bit about how Van has now become Bear Grylls? I don't know.
Well, that's the front, right? It's like that's her like coping mechanism by which she's handling everything they've been through so far is by insisting that like everything is totally fine. Not only is it fine, I'm going to create a story of how fine it is for everyone else to internalize and live by. So by all appearances, it's like, yeah, me and my girlfriend like live in like a thatched hut and we are farming animals and don't think about the kid we ate, you know? But that stuff is not gonna stay buried, you know? Your discomfort about those things will return to the surface.
The only way to truly be safe is to be the only one left. This is not healthy.
There's a lot of WTF moments in this show, and there are a lot of them courtesy of you.
You're welcome.
You're a brilliant actress. What's been your favorite WTF moment that you've been a part of, that you've seen, or that people have mentioned to you?
I think one of my favorite WTF moments is yet to come later in the season.
Everyone keeps saying that.
I know. But this one is like my favorite, I think, because I just knew in the core of Lottie that she was just going to get there at some point. But I think also one of my favorite moments was more Shauna's, but I loved that scene where she's just beating me up and Lottie's taking it for to
You stepped up. You asked.
I did step up. Lottie did step up.
Travis, I mean, not as many. He's more observing the WTFs.
Yeah, it might be happening to him if we go back to season 1.
Do you have a favorite one you've either witnessed or been a part of or just read in the script and you were like, can't believe we're doing this?
Yeah, I think there's a few. There's a few. Let me think about it. No, I think if we get more recent in season 2, it's like I think, such a triumphant moment when he tackles Shauna to save Natalie and what that ends up happening in terms of losing his brother because of it. I think that's like, you know, it was like a moment where I'm like,
A good WTF moment was when you eat the heart.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
the next
that
one,
was
most
yours,
recent, like
yeah.
I think that reading that one, I had a really hard time getting there and understanding that like, oh, like this is in such a twisted way, like you need to do this for the group and you also need to do this to maybe let yourself go.
And let him
let him be
the
there.
closest
yeah,
version to you.
it's so sad and yet so like necessary.
Yeah, I don't know if it in me. The wilderness would have taken me right away. But well, your two characters kind of get close this season after what happened with Natalie. I'm just, if you can preview a little bit about where you guys go in season 3.
Yeah, I think season 3 is really interesting for our relationship. I think we both kind of start in a trauma bonding sense. We both kind of begin in season 3 as like wallflowers and just watching the group, and I'm watching you. And I think Lottie has this guilt with what's happened with Harvey and her words being misconstrued through Misty, that she's trying to fix some of the damage that she thinks she's inflicted. Along the way, I think that just gets a little
lost.
Maybe a little lost. She's trying her best. She's well intentioned with everything she does.
Girl,
she is. She is.
Listen,
I'll fight it to the
Courtney
end.
will champion that
I know. I've seen all the interviews where you're just like
she
defending
champions
this
every day.
Sophie.
And listen, I get it from a standpoint of like the beginning of the season. Like I do believe there's a level of trust between them that they've built that is quite, you know, interesting. Like we see them talk like kids for a second, like by that tree, and that's so heartwarming. And then for immediately, that's the first time he like feels like what we would call the wilderness in that place, and to then see that shift in Lottie so quickly, like I think their relationship.
It's like a throuple. It's like us and the wilderness.
Yeah,
And the wilderness really, I think this season for Lottie is almost like a drug.
Yeah.
As soon as I think because she's lost that connection at the end of season 2, that she's a bit lost coming into season 3, and then once she starts deciding which direction she needs to head in,
Travis started third wheeling.
Sets her off. And becoming an instrument.
It really does. Well, it's interesting.
Well, he runs away.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the wilderness because that's actually what folks have the most theories about, and that's the things that folks are really sort of like trying to examine. And they've turned up so many of the other secrets have been uncovered, but that one still seems to be shrouded. Do you like a fan theory around that, or just really in general some of the fan theories? Like, is there a favorite one you have?
I appreciate all fan theories. I mean, there's so much dedication that goes into them.
Awesome.
This season, I try steer away from Reddit while we're like filming.
Really?
It just gets scary when you're like, that's a great idea. They want my character to go this way. Oh no, I did it.
Yeah.
Like it just gets too in your head, and they're so amazing. But yeah, there's like endless.
There's
incredible ones.
Yeah, there's incredible theories. And for the same reason, I try and stay away, simply because I'm worried that, you know, I already know what's going to happen, and then I start reading like in certain seasons. So at the end of the season, I'll read some, but in the middle of the season, I stay away as much as I possibly can, just because I get nervous that I'm just going to like feel, you know, my work wasn't what it.
You feel the pressure.
Yeah, you feel pressure real fast, and so we stay away from it. But it's really cool to see people just come up with everything that's incredible. Like it's such good
and
things.
so detailed.
Very detailed.
Like things that when we talk about it as the cast, we're like, I didn't even notice that.
Yes.
We read it and worked on it for 3 days.
And they are so good with the details that sometimes people will take just normal production errors and think that was like some big sign of the license plate. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you these. That was a big one. That was a big one.
That's good.
There's a lot of people that theorize the power is real with Lottie. Can you kind of let us know where her powers sort of remain? Is it still as spooky, or is her power starting to wane in season 3 a little bit?
Ooh, that is an interesting question. I think that going into the second half of the season, it is stronger than ever, but maybe it's not. It's a sense of self.
Yeah. For you, y'all's influence on each other is definitely felt. What do you think his influence on her has been through season 3, if any?
I do believe that like when you have someone that you know you can sway so easily, it builds up your pressure and confidence. So like Lottie knows that Travis is going to go whichever way. So I believe that like there is a level of confidence you get from that in decision making, but then on top of that, there's like that level of pressure that I think Travis actually puts on Lottie in some ways, because she is going to have to know that, like, you know, this decision is going to affect more than her.
And we see that in a particular
big way.
scene.
In a big way
later in the season.
The only people that know about this are either us or dead.
I think folks have really been excited about the show because of all the twists and turns that it has. And I will say there's definitely some twists and turns in the like 20 years later stuff. But do you have a favorite moment from the series, whether you've been a part of it or not, where it was like, this is shocking. I can't believe this happened.
I think just taking in the scene where it finally happens, where it's like they're eating Jackie. It's happening right now. In a way, wasn't shocking in the sense that I think the audience was sensing that that was coming. But to actually witness it and to hear the stories from my fellow castmates of actually shooting it, I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
I love the Thaisa persona and alter persona and exploring that literally and figuratively with people and how that we are that way. I always liked that. I was like, man, I want to see more dirt eating, you know, and just like go there.
More dirty.
You know?
I hope they give her something good to replace for that. I mean, for your character, though, with Callie this season, I think it's so interesting because for the first 2 seasons, it was a huge effort to keep her out of everything. And then Melanie just sat on that bumper, was like, this is what happened, all of this stuff. What does that really mean for season 3 now that your character's like in on it?
Yeah, I think, well, one, it's been super satisfying as an actor to like get to be in on it and part of the hijinks and also the seriousness that entails.
Yep.
But I think Callie's journey this season is really like a search for answers. She's very determined, and that's also coming from a longing. She's like turning inward and is like really wanting to understand herself. There's the question of like nature versus nurture and like, am I like my mom? How much am I like that my mom? How does that make me feel? What does that mean? I mean, nothing really is going on.
For your character, I think more interesting over his arc, the first 2 seasons, like, let's just be real. Not everybody's feeling Jeff. They were pretty upset with him about a lot of things.
What did I do?
You know what you did. You know what you did.
Let's table
blackmailing your wife.
Oh, that's marginal. Let's put that in the margins for a second.
That's
What else?
charge it to the game. But now I think folks are kind of like maybe understanding, getting a little. Have you felt that? Like the tide a little bit?
Well, I mean, I haven't really been checking in with anybody. I mean, I'm doing what they're writing for me.
I know.
But yes, I sense that on the part of the creators and the writers, it's like, well, we don't want to alienate Jeff entirely from the sympathy of the audience or anything like that. They've done a great job. I've had a great time exploring Jeff's vices and virtues and playing with wonderful scene partners.
So fun.
Speaking of scene partners, for the first time this year, you get to interact with some of the other Yellowjackets, not just with your mom. What was that sort of like? Both as a character, but then also for you, because y'all are really more about the family unit in a lot of your scenes.
It's true. Yeah, it was fun to break out and get to play with some of the other talented people on our show. What a dream. I loved having my sleepover. And yeah, I mean, working with all the other adults, like there's so much to learn from everyone as an actor too. It's like so satisfying, and I feel like I'm growing a lot. And it's also fun because I do get to interact with them like outside of filming too. Yeah. So to have somewhat of a relationship with them already and then get to work with them as actors finally, I'm like very grateful for.
Definitely. I don't think they're strangers to you, obviously.
Yeah.
I think one question that a lot of folks have, especially as things get more and more wacky, is why does your character stay with her at certain points? Like, it does seem like he's testing the bounds of till death do us part and a lot of that stuff. What do you think is the secret for why he
What drives loyalty?
I mean, that's true, I guess.
Why is anyone as loyal as they are? They love something, they hold an ideal, and maybe even if it isn't accurate, to support that behavior until it's no longer possible.
I don't know if I have that much faith. That's a scary place to kind of be in with someone. Be like, ride or die is scary when the ride or die person is shot up.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe not you, because it seems like you kind of tune it out and like just want to stick with the creators and what you get in the scripts. But do you read the online fan theories? Do you have a favorite one?
I don't like delve into them as much. I love that the fans do it, and I think it creates such a beautiful community for everyone to talk everything out because there's so many cliffhangers all over the place. But I do get them sent to me sometimes from like friends and stuff. So there are more Callie related ones
ones. But I've of course seen the like Callie is pit girl theory.
How do fans theorize this? I'm not understanding maybe
Lots
how
of
that works.
recreational marijuana.
Yeah.
How's that work?
But like selfishly, I'm like, I want that one to be true just because I want the opportunity to work with all the gorgeous actors in the past timeline. I want it all. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to make that happen. Ashley Bart
Just
Jonathan.
help me understand how it would happen.
Yes. I can't answer that.
Well, what are the
You
theories?
watch one of their YouTube videos. She didn't write them. She
I know, but I just want to read one. I want to know how they
You
justify.
can't put her on trial. She didn't make it.
Answer me.
It's like, it's your theory. No, but there'll be more to come.